Hi, my name is Abby Torgeson. My husband Jason and I are the regional connectors for the Church of God in Latin America. And what that basically means is that we get to walk alongside our missionaries and our leaders in the 20 Spanish and Portuguese speaking countries south of Texas. And as you can see, I'm filming today in an airport because traveling is an important part of our work and ministry. Today I'm traveling solo and I'm not in a hurry, which is wonderful. But it reminds me of an experience a few months ago when I was traveling alone with two of our young children. And that day we had a really tight connection in an airport that I'm not very familiar with. And as our first flight landed, we ended up on the tarmac an extra 10 minutes and 15 minutes. And I have to confess, I was getting pretty distraught by that point. And there was a nearby passenger named Mary. And she picked up on what was going on and she looked at me and she said, "Do you need help?" And as much as I wanted to say, "Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm good. I got it." I really did need help. I thought if she could at least help me get the carry-on bag off this flight while I wrangle the kids, that would be awesome. And we got to the jetway and she said, what gate are you going to? And I told her and she said, "Wow, that's a really long way and the airport's under construction. Let me walk with you so that you can find the train." She ended up walking with us all the way to our gate, and I'm convinced that that's the only reason we made our connection. Mary was our angel. And that's not the only way that God has shown us hospitality through other people as we've traveled. Most recently, a group of us went to the Inter-American Conference in Brazil, and several of us coming from different locations had flight issues, and we got rerouted to another city, but our gracious Brazilian hosts made extra trips down a 6-hour drive on a bumpy, dusty, often unpaved road through the Amazon to make sure we got to the convention on time. It was an incredible act of hospitality. And as a group of us were talking there at the convention, our general director, Jim Lyon, was one of the ones who was affected, and he said, I think that travel is often a lesson in faith. Because while we often think that we have things under control, we really don't. We depend on other people to get us to where we're going. And that's so true in literal travel, and it's also so true in this journey that we call life. Hebrews 13:1, when in talking about hospitality, says, "Let mutual love continue." God created us for a mutual interdependence on one another. Because sometimes in life, we're in our comfort zone, and sometimes we're not. And in those moments when we're out of our element, we have to have the humility to ask for and to accept help when it's offered, because we never know how God's going to bless us that way. But in those moments when we're in a position to give and to share, we are also called to do that, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it comes at great sacrifice to us. That's a lesson we've learned over and over and over again in Latin America. I always say that you can never outgive or outserve a Latin. We were in a home one time where a family was serving rice with chicken, and we saw them in the kitchen discreetly pulling out pieces of chicken out of their bowls so that their guests would be able to have more. We were in a church that has a homeless ministry, but instead of only going out to the streets to serve, they also decided to bring the people that they serve into the church. They served them breakfast, they served them lunch, they gave haircuts and makeovers and offered them showers and had a worship service. And the next day, two of the people actually came back to the church on their own accord and wanted to share a testimony, and they handed over the microphone without knowing what they were going to say, welcoming them into the family with love. We hear stories from Venezuela, which is a country, if you know anything about Venezuela, the way the economy and the wages work there right now, it will take a full-time worker 2 years to save up enough money to purchase a month's worth of groceries. And yet somehow the people from our congregations, at great personal costs, have feeding programs where they welcome people into the church and feed them with the love of Jesus. It's something that always comes to mind when I hear stories of our Costa Rican pastors and churches feeding and caring for Venezuelan refugees in Costa Rica. Let mutual love continue. So when we're walking down this long and sometimes dusty path of life, may we follow in the steps of our Master, sometimes washing feet and sometimes having them washed, but always embracing hospitality and the mutual love that He has invited us to share.